Sometimes the brightest smiles hide the deepest storms. And sometimes the people who seem the strongest are the ones who need love the most. For years, America adored Mark Consuelos and Kelly Ripa, the couple who seemed to have it all. They were the morning show sweethearts, the Hollywood duo that could make an ordinary Tuesday feel like sunshine. Their laughter, their chemistry, their love, it was something fans admired and believed in. But behind every perfect picture lies a story. And behind Mark's calm confidence was a truth he had kept buried for years. He was struggling, quietly, invisibly, and alone. For so long, Mark had been the rock, the provider, the man who never faltered, who always smiled for the cameras, who always had a reassuring word for everyone else. He was the partner who made the world believe love could conquer anything. But even the strongest hearts can get tired. Kelly began to notice the little changes first. The sleepless nights when he would pace the hallway. The quiet moments when he thought no one was watching. The smile that sometimes didn't reach his eyes. She'd ask him gently, "Are you okay?" And every time he'd answer with that familiar phrase, "I'm fine, don't worry about me." But she could see that something inside him was changing. Mark had been carrying more than anyone realized. The pressure of expectations, the demands of fame, the responsibility of being the steady one in every storm. And for years, he didn't let a single crack show. Until one evening. It wasn't a grand confession or a dramatic scene. It was simple, quiet, real. At home, away from cameras and lights, Mark sat down beside Kelly. And finally, the walls came down. His voice trembled. His eyes were filled with tears he had never allowed himself to shed. He told her that he was tired, that the pressure had become too heavy, that no amount of success could silence the storm inside him. Kelly reached for his hand. For a long moment, she didn't speak. She just held him, this man who had carried so much for so long. It was a moment of truth, and in that truth, something powerful happened. He wasn't her perfect husband anymore. He was human, vulnerable, real. And in that vulnerability, she loved him even more. Later, Mark would say that letting go of his silence was both terrifying and freeing. For years, he had believed that showing pain was weakness, that being strong meant staying quiet. But in that moment, he realized that strength isn't about hiding your scars. It's about having the courage to show them. When Mark finally decided to share his story publicly, the world stopped and listened. Fans who had watched him for decades were stunned to see the man behind the smile open up about his emotional struggles. He spoke openly about the toll of constant pressure, the sleepless nights, the quiet anxiety that crept into his days. He said softly, "I thought I had to carry it alone. But the truth is, we're never really alone." Those words resonated like a heartbeat across millions of homes. Kelly, sitting beside him, could barely hold back tears. She knew how much courage it took for him to speak. For years, she had watched him be everyone's strength, and now he was finally allowing himself to be held. After that interview, something extraordinary happened. Letters began to pour in from all over the world. Men wrote to him saying, "You gave me the courage to talk about my own pain." Women shared stories of their fathers, brothers, and husbands who had suffered in silence for years. It wasn't just a confession anymore, it was a movement. Mark's honesty had given people permission to feel, to speak, to breathe. But perhaps the most profound transformation happened not in front of the cameras, but within their marriage. For years, Mark and Kelly's relationship had been built on laughter, partnership, and passion. But after that moment, it evolved into something even more powerful, a love grounded in truth. Kelly said later that she realized love isn't about always being happy. It's about holding each other through the storms. She said, "It's about knowing that even the strongest people sometimes need saving. And when you love them, you become that safe place." The two grew closer than ever. Their love deepened. not because of perfection, but because of honesty. They had seen each other at their most raw, and that made their connection unbreakable. Mark began to heal, slowly but surely. He started to prioritize his mental health, to talk openly with his family, to take time for peace. He rediscovered the small joys, morning coffee with Kelly, quiet walks, laughter with their kids. And through that healing, he made a promise to himself and to everyone listening. If you're struggling, he said, speak up before it's too late. Don't do it alone. There's always someone who cares enough to listen. Those weren't just words from a celebrity. They were the words of a man who had lived through the darkness and found his way back to light. For Kelly, that message hit close to home. Watching her husband reclaim his peace reminded her that love isn't just about being there during the easy times. It's about standing beside someone when their world begins to fall apart and helping them rebuild it piece by piece. Fans who once admired Mark and Kelly for their glamour began to admire them for something deeper, their humanity, their honesty, their willingness to show that even the most perfect love stories have shadows. And those shadows, when faced together, can become a source of light. In interviews afterwards, Kelly's voice would sometimes crack as she talked about that period of their lives. She said, there were moments when I didn't recognize the man beside me. But when he opened up, when he finally let me in, that's when I fell in love with him all over again. Their story touched hearts because it was universal. Behind every strong man, there's a story no one sees. Behind every smiling couple, there are moments of silence, pain, and healing. Mark and Kelly's journey reminds us that real love isn't about picture-perfect happiness. It's about seeing someone's brokenness and choosing
often
to
teaches
love
us
them
to hide our
anyway.
pain, to smile even when we're falling apart. But Mark showed us that true courage lies in honesty, that opening up isn't weakness, it's the first step toward freedom. After his revelation, Mark began speaking more about mental health, not as a celebrity, but as a husband, a father, a man who had been to the edge and come back stronger. He reminded his audience that taking care of your mind is just as vital as taking care of your body. And he often said something that still lingers in the hearts of many. The greatest act of love you can give someone is your truth. Because when you're honest, you give them permission to love the real you. Kelly echoed that sentiment, saying that their marriage became more authentic than ever after that turning point. They no longer felt pressure to appear perfect. They just wanted to be present. As years go by, their story continues to inspire others. Couples, families, and individuals who've learned that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is ask for help. Because even heroes need healing, even strong hearts need rest, and even the ones who make us laugh every morning can cry when the cameras stop rolling. When Mark spoke those final words in his emotional interview, "Don't carry it alone," there was a quiet in the room. Kelly reached over, squeezed his hand, and whispered something that microphones didn't catch, but anyone who saw it knew what she said. It was love. Pure, simple, human love. And that's what this story is truly about. Not fame, not image, but the strength it takes to be seen. Mark's honesty taught the world something timeless, that vulnerability is not the opposite of strength. It is strength. It is courage wearing no armor. It's love with no disguise. So as you think about their journey, think also about your own. The people you love, the ones who always smile, who always say, "I'm fine." Maybe they're strong, or maybe they're tired. Maybe what they really need is for someone to listen. Reach out, ask, hold space. Because sometimes love isn't about fixing someone, it's simply about being there while they heal. Mark and Kelly's story will be remembered not for its glamour, but for its truth. It showed the world that behind every public smile, there's a private story. And sometimes the most beautiful chapters of love are written in the quiet moments, when hearts break, rebuild, and find their way back to each other. Their journey became a mirror for all of us, reflecting how love, honesty, and vulnerability can transform pain into purpose. So if you're listening now and you've been holding something in, let this be your sign. Speak, share, reach for someone's hand, because love has the power to lift us even from the darkest places. And sometimes it only takes one honest moment to remind us that we were never really alone.